Hello, leaders. Dr. Patrick Jinks here, board certified leadership coach and president of the Leaders Perspective. Are your send and receive channels getting the same amount of bandwidth? Let's cue it up. We happen to have fiber optics internet service here at the Leaders Perspective office. It's blazing fast and it's much more reliable in our experience than cable internet. But what might be the most valuable thing about it is the fact that the upload speeds are the same as the download speeds. And that's not the case in virtually any other internet service. You may not have experienced the difference depending on what kind of work you do and how you use the internet in your home or office, but it basically means that we can send data out at the same speeds as we download data in. They get the same amount of bandwidth. Now, why am I talking about this? There's a dimension of emotional intelligence that gets measured in one of the assessments we use a lot in our leadership coaching environment with individuals. It's called holistic communication. And it's not quite what you think or what it sounds like. It doesn't measure how good of a writer or speaker someone is. It doesn't measure hard communication skills like public speaking, media interviews, or even composing effective emails with compelling messages. Holistic communication is all about how we're connecting with the person or people we're engaging. Here's how the assessment tool defines holistic communication. It's the ability to effectively send and receive information, including emotional content. It is genuinely and curiously listening, engaging and connecting with others, sending and receiving verbal and nonverbal signals constructively. Here's why this concept is so important. Most of us give more bandwidth to our sending than we do our receiving. Our brains are naturally more focused on what we're thinking and what we're saying or wanting to communicate, right? We have a message and we want to get it out and we want to be heard. But emotional intelligence has to include the ability to listen with empathy, with true curiosity, and with the desire to understand. When we receive well, we send more relevant messages back. Communication truly is two-way. A connection is formed. This connection goes far beyond mere words. In fact, we've all heard all of our lives that the majority of our communication is actually nonverbal. And yet many leaders haven't developed the discipline or awareness and behavior to check their nonverbal communication. Check the amount of bandwidth that they're giving to the receiving component of the communication, and checking throughout the engagement to see if we're still connecting in a meaningful way and that our communication is actually creating value. Perhaps you've heard the term active listening, and maybe some of you have even been to a workshop where you learn some of the tips, tools, and tenets for active listening. Things like paraphrasing or mirroring, nodding, eye contact, and other tips. The problem is when we focus too heavily on whether or not we're exhibiting those specific behaviors, then we're not actually focused on what the person is trying to send us. Now, I'm not saying those tips aren't useful and needed. They are. But from this leader's perspective, the best tip I can give you on how to become a better active listener is just to actively listen. If you are actively listening for the right reasons, your body language and other behaviors will take care of themselves. Try this in your very next conversation with someone, anyone, your next conversation. Pay close attention to the amount of upload and download bandwidth you're giving in your head to the conversation. What are you hearing that isn't being spoken? What feeling and chemistry are you bringing to the table? How deeply do you feel a sense of purpose for this conversation? Don't listen to respond. Listen to understand. Pay attention to how that influences your response. That is one leader's perspective for this week. I'd love to connect with you and see how the leader's perspective can help you or your organization achieve greater clarity, simplicity, and alignment in your work. So feel free to schedule a free discovery call with me anytime by clicking the link that's always in the video description below these videos. And of course, I hope if you haven't already that you will subscribe to this channel by clicking the subscribe button below. And while you're at it, if you haven't already, make sure you click the bell icon so that you get notified when new episodes arise. And that is it. Share this with a friend or a colleague who you think might find it helpful. And we'll see you next time. Lead on.